We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, the gathering grounds of many diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples whose footsteps have marked this land and whose presence continues to enrich our vibrant community. Hello and welcome back to Research Recasted, the Knowledge Mobilization podcast. I'm your host, Kelsey Johnston, and today to kick off Season 5 of the show, we are joined by the Dean of the Faculty of Fine Arts and Communications, Deric Olsen. Deric Olsen is going into a second term as the Dean of the Faculty of Fine Arts and Communications here at MacEwan University. He holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts from the University of Lethbridge and a Master's of Fine Arts from the Department of Film at the University of Regina. Prior to joining MacEwan in July of 2024, Deric spent 16 years in the Faculty of Fine Arts at the University of Lethbridge, where he held academic and administrative positions, including appointments as Department Chair, Chair of the Graduate Programs in Fine Arts, Associate Dean, and Interim Dean. He has a wide variety of experience as a director, screenwriter, editor, and producer, and his research interests and creative projects span many facets of dramatic narrative filmmaking. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, Deric.
Pleased to be here.
So, you are the Dean for the Faculty of Fine Arts and Communications here and have been for now just over a year. So I was wondering if we could start by getting you to just tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Sure. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about my journey to MacEwan. I started my undergraduate degree in the University of Lethbridge back in the late 90s. And was studying a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in what was then called multimedia. And so doing a very, very interdisciplinary kind of pursuit in my creative practice. I was focusing on design, graphic design, illustration, and video editing, web design, 3D animation. They were all sort of really fledgling in the late 90s. Animation in particular was an emphasis of that program, but I gravitated or emphasized more on video production. It was a small part of that program at the time, but that was where a lot of my interest was focused. And finished my bachelor's degree, started a creative practice in video editing and video production, and decided I wanted to do graduate work in film, and completed my Master of Fine Arts degree at the University of Regina, where I focused on writing, directing, and producing, and particularly narrative production, so dramatic narrative features. And so that was where my emphasis was, and started my practice as a feature-length filmmaker, and finished a couple of projects over the course of my career. And at the same time I was doing that, I was interested in teaching, and so I went into teaching in the post-secondary environment. Started teaching some courses at the U of R while I was there, and began looking for tenure-track positions. And I taught sessionally at a couple of places, and then sort of secured my first tenure-track appointment in the United States. And I was teaching in a professional and technical communication program there at the university, or at Montana Tech University in Montana, and was teaching all of their digital media things. I was teaching graphic design, I was teaching web design and video production. So it was sort of a hallmark back to some of my undergraduate work, where all of my creative practice was sort of intertwined and covered a wide variety of things. And then there was a video production position opened up back at my alma mater at University of Lethbridge, and that sort of teased me back to Canada, and so I pursued that and was able to secure that tenure track position, and spent the last almost 17 years at the University of Lethbridge, progressing through the academic ranks, and got into some administration, was chair of departments, and went into senior administration as associate dean and interim dean, and then looked at where things were at, and was notified by a mentor of mine that there was news that my predecessor Alan Gilliland was stepping down a little bit before the end of his or before it was expected for him to complete a full second term as dean here at MacEwan. And so they wanted to make sure I was aware of it, because this was this institution, this faculty was so amazing. And so the position came up, and was really interested in pursuing it. Obviously discussed it with my family, and see lots of alignment with this faculty, with my own experience, my own background, and really pursued it. Really excited to be here. So
so that's really cool, and such like a wide, vast range of things that you've like, I guess, specialized in, or like you've kind of had your toes in. So now that it's been a year, how has your experience at MacEwan been?
I mean, anytime you start a new position, there's such a steep learning curve. There's so much to learn, so much to do, so many people to get to know. And this position's been no different. It's been amazing, but it's been a lot of learning on my perspective, on my side of things, and from my perspective, doing a lot of listening, and getting a sense of what's important here at MacEwan. As a primarily undergraduate teaching institution, and in particular what that means for a faculty of fine arts and communications. And there's lots of institutions that like to say, they focus on excellence in teaching and the quality of the student experience and those kind of things. And this institution is really one that it isn't just talk. They really walk the walk, visiting with everybody who's involved in this institution is just dedicated to that goal, to that aim, and to do it well. And so that's been really amazing to see. That's been my experience this year. It's been overwhelmingly positive. And there's always challenges. There's always things that don't go, perfectly. And a first year, there's always bumps, and you can't please everybody. But sort of as coming into my second year, hoping to take larger strides and moving the faculty and to help the institution move towards some of these strategic goals that we have as an institution.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that it's been a positive experience. I do want to get into your role as the dean. But first, I kind of want to go back a little bit, because I do want to ask you about your past research, because you said that you did a lot of film production, and that's kind of where you majored. So I'm curious, were there any projects that you worked on in your experience that have really left their mark on you?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a wide variety of things that all sort of fall within, a research agenda and a creative practice. But filmmaking is inherently a collaborative art form, especially the work that I do as a narrative filmmaker. It's not something you can do in isolation. There's, by necessity, a cast and a crew, and you're working with, a wide variety of people that all are contributing to a creative outcome. And so these large projects that I've had the privilege of working on, these feature-length films, they provide that opportunity to work really closely with people and to participate in a really collaborative environment. And so the last feature film that I did, which it's been a long time now. It's been over 10 years since since I completed the last feature that I was working on.
Yeah.
But Common Chord was a feature-length film that I worked on 2012, 2013, released 2014. But that project was a 3-4 year, maybe longer process through the development and through production to get it ready. But that process really was focused on involving a wide variety of stakeholders, not just the sort of traditional cast and crew people that you would work on. We were deliberate about engaging with community. There was a an interinstitutional kind of partnership between work that I was doing at the University of Lethbridge and folks at the Lethbridge College. and in between different programs, in my program at the U of L and the communication program at Lethbridge College, and some of the faculty there. George Gallant was my co-producer, and so we were doing a lot to engage with students. We wanted to make sure that this experience, we were going to provide students an opportunity to participate in actual crew positions on the film. George's team at the college with his students were doing all the behind the scenes documentary type work for that production. I think the YouTube channel is still up of all the. He had a bunch of journalism students that were all doing interviews with cast and crew behind the scenes. The idea being that people could follow the development of this project through pre-production, production, and post-production till it was finished. And so it's kind of funny to go back and watch some of those from a while ago.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So and my students were involved in a number of the departments on the film. Students running the assistant director's team, students working in the cinematography team, locations, costumes. Like, I had students involved in every aspect of the film. Wow. We brought in key department heads to supervise them all and give them, supervision and direction. But a lot of the heavy lifting was done by students on that project. So it was a really great experience, and there's lots of wrinkles and warts on that film that reflect sort of the low budget nature of it, and but it was really successful. We told a lovely story with that film, and some excellent performances from some up and coming talent, and so it was really exciting to see that kind of project to go forward.
Yeah, you say like the warts and the wrinkles and stuff, but sometimes that can just be part of the charm of a low budget movie. And I'm sure the students got so much out of that experience well.
Yeah, I mean, those students, the ones that were involved in that project, many of them went on to have really was a springboard for them to pursue. Like, they sort of saw the project as evidence that they could make it in this field, and gave them a lot of confidence to do really great work in the field. And again, I can think of at least a half a dozen, maybe more members of that crew who have gone on to and are continuing to work in the film industry today, and are doing amazing work and doing really substantial responsibilities within their field. So it's sort of a point of pride for me to see their success, for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. And so you've included all of these students, and you talk about the film process being very collaborative and all of that. So I'm wondering how this background in film and all of that, how has that influenced the way that you're navigating your current role as Dean of the Faculty of Fine Arts and Communications here at MacEwan?
That's a good question. I mean, one of the things that encouraged me to look into serving in leadership positions and finding an opportunity to participate in administration was that some of the skill set, at least on the logistical side of filmmaking and producing, a lot of those skills are transferable. They're all things that I'm doing within my creative practice that I could leverage in some way in this role as an administrator, and that's been it's been fulfilling. That's one of the things that I find really beneficial about being in this kind of role, is that I'm able to continue to use those skills that are around a team and are around facilitating and elevating people's contributions. That's been really exciting for me as in this role. And what's great about being a dean is also seeing all the exciting things that people are doing and looking for ways to help people be successful.
Yeah. Just going off of that, like seeing these different things that are happening within your faculty, are there like a couple of projects or initiatives that kind of like stand out to you that you'd be able to touch on a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I'd love to talk a little bit about some of the things that that my colleagues are doing in the Faculty of Fine Arts and Communications. I mean, one of the things that we talk a lot about at MacEwan is our community engaged research, that sort of philosophy of the stuff that we're doing within this institution. And what I think is really great about my colleagues in my faculty is that, you know, we're not necessarily like I don't necessarily like characterizing the work that we're doing as partnering with the community, right? They're really more part of the community. Do you know what I mean? I'll try to explain a little bit. Like it's not that as an institution we're partnering with another institution or another organization. It's like these faculty are practicing artists or practicing musicians, and they're already involved in these activities in the community, right? So it's like it's a natural extension of what they're doing for this research enterprise to sort of organically come out of what they're doing. So some of it's very deliberate. Some of it's, you know, it is more, you know, identify a question and pursue that as an initiative. But a lot of what's going on is a natural extension of how engaged they are with their community and with these organizations already. So there's like I've got a list here of a few things are, but you'll see what I'm talking about in some of these examples, right? So for an example, there's like a work integrated learning project that's in partnership with studio arts students and faculty members in that department, Elizabeth Bellevaux and Carrie Lynn Reeves, the Alberta Craft Council, and a local muralist named Emily Chu. So these students are all led step by step to support the muralist Emily Chu through designing, creating, and applying a whole building mural wrap for the Alberta Craft Council. Right. So that's something that, you know, really deliberate, right? Something that they're involved with. There's faculty in the communication program, for example. Dr. Steve Lullabune is a co-applicant and a partner on a $2.5 million SHIRK partnership grant about a climate disaster project, which is a really amazing initiative, but also one that Dr. Carolyn Jervis and in the Mitchell Art Gallery is a collaborator on, right? So this is a project where, you know, a partnership where we have climate disaster survivors and their impacted communities are coming together to co-create survivor stories, and so putting together testimonies that are going to be published as an anthology in UBC Press, and that will form a part of a traveling exhibit with the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. So stuff like that. Professor Rossiter, Sheena Rossiter, is a co-writer and a producer and an editor on a feature documentary called The Perfect Match. And it's something that's industry funded. It's a documentary that'll have a festival run and community screenings. And it'll be broadcast on TELUS Optic TV. You know, shares the stories of 3 Black Canadians and their experience to get stem cell donations. Right. So really interesting content, interesting activities that are going on. Again, I've got a number of these examples of things that people are doing in my faculty. Professor Rayanne Haynes, you know, she's doing research in grief and decolonial grieving practices. She's disseminated her research recently through publication in a poetic memoir called What Kind of Daughter? And she's been, you know, on a bit of a book tour this last year with sharing her research and disseminating that research.
Yeah, we had her on the podcast
Wonderful.
last season to talk about her work with grief and her memoir, which is so cool to know that it's like, you know, she's been on a book tour now, that everything's been published.
But it's really something that when I think about the diversity of things that are happening within the faculty, like even just some of these examples that I've mentioned here, just the breadth of the kinds of things that faculty are doing and the impact that they're having in the community is kind of staggering to me. We're definitely, I think, punching above our weight in terms of the activity in fine arts and communications and the work that's going on. So it's really exciting. It's something to be proud of. One of the shining lights sort of that came out of last year in the music department was Brianna Lizotte, who graduated with a Bachelor of Music degree, was nominated for a Traditional Indigenous Artist or Group of the Year Juno Award.
Oh, wow.
And for the recording Winston and I, and that recording was released on our Bent River Records label within the Faculty of Fine Arts and Communications. And that was produced and recorded by Paurig Bunner Schweriner and Paul Johnston, who was also recognized this year through his work as a producer and an engineer on Christine Jensen's album Harbor. And those were nominated, right, productions for awards. Just really exciting stuff that's going on, and it's great to see.
No, that's amazing to see, like, and to hear about so many new and interesting things coming out of this faculty, because you see, like, fine arts and communications covers such a wide range of different disciplines. Like, you have your communications, you've got professional communications, journalism, you've got design, you've got music, you've got fine arts, you've got I'm sure I'm missing a few because there's so many. And like, you hear about these creative activities and these research things. And I'm wondering, like, how, like, when you're talking to people about them, how do you help people understand not only the value, but also the complexity of these projects within these fields?
That's a good question. When I think about how to explain the kinds of activities that are going on in fine arts and communications, when you hear the word research, you kind of it evokes a particular kind of image, right? You sort of think of scientific research. You think of this is something that happens where someone wearing a white lab coat and there's beakers going around, or there's maybe interviews going on and case studies and publications, and some of that happens within the Faculty of Fine Arts and Communication. But it's such a broad range of the types of activities that happen that are scholarly activity about the creation of new knowledge, and the creation of that knowledge doesn't happen in the same way in fine arts and communications than it happens in other fields, and so oftentimes it is through the process of creating that knowledge, right? It's a creation-driven process. And sometimes it's really a moment in time, right? It's about a performance. It's about, like, the outcomes, and the dissemination is sort of happening in the moment. So it's I think when I talk about the complexity of that, it's like there's never been a more important time for this kind of research to be highlighted. There's never been a more important time to be good at this, to be highlighting it. The value of this kind of activity has been demonstrated, time and time again, and really reinforced, especially when I think about the impact of that on individuals, on society, on the economy through the pandemic, right? Everybody all of a sudden realized, in a really tangible way, the things that they were missing out on that were really inherent to their experience in their life, right? Which is driven by the activities that are going on in these fields, right? And in regards to communication, you think of professional communication, you think of journalism, public relations. These are all things that we see on a day-to-day basis. The importance of those things within society, and how crucial it is for that to be top of mind, and for experts in these fields to be pursuing these questions and contributing this material and this knowledge to society.
Yeah, I know you've already touched on that. The research and these creative activities are not in partnership with community, but a part of the community. And you've mentioned students that have been involved, and how you involve students in your previous roles. But I am wondering, like, in your role as dean, what do you do to support all of these activities and stuff? Like, what kind of does your role entail in all of this?
Oh, that's a good question. Again, as an administrator, you're oftentimes a bit at arm's length of some of the creative work that's going on, right? And so you read a lot of abstracts, you're reading a lot of applications, you're reviewing a lot of outcomes and things like that. So your role really is about facilitating, the work that your colleagues are going forward with, and ensuring, you're doing your best to ensure that there's support. So faculty have, I guess, a lane to be pursuing their research agenda, that we're setting people up for success, that the research endeavor, the work that we're doing, right, is ultimately contributing to the priorities of our institution and our province or country, all those kinds of things, right? Yeah. So my role in this is fairly pragmatic, right? You're about helping to move things along and ensuring people are able to have opportunities and that they can make the most of those opportunities.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So just to sort of end here, like we've mentioned, you're going into your second year, second term now as dean. I'm curious, like, what excites you the most about the future of the fine arts and communications fields and all the research and the creative activities that are happening within the faculty?
Thanks for that question. I mean, I think one of the things that excites me most is about how deliberate the faculty are about connecting their research to their teaching, right? Like, they're just very engaged, almost to a person. I can think of the experiences that I've had over this year about how they're always looking for a way to ensure that their teaching is relevant and that it's aligned with their research, and they're bringing these cutting edge things that they're doing in their research and finding a way to expose students to them, involve students with them, and having it influence the development and innovation of the curriculum. That's really what's exciting to me is to see, as an institution, right? We've been a university since 2009, mm-hmm. right? And it's only been since 2016 or 2017, and since the Faculty of Fine Arts sort of joined the center campus and came into Allard Hall, and so the maturity is really exciting to me. That we're sort of coming into our own, right? And really sort of everyone's sort of taking that extra, lengthening their stride, so to speak, right? Like, you're seeing everybody just make bigger moves and doing ambitious things, yeah. and taking risks and being successful, and I think that's really bearing itself out in the curriculum and the experiences that students are having in the classroom. It's bearing itself out in the reputation of the faculty in the community. I talked about the partnerships not being really partnerships, being part of the community. That reinforces the partnerships. It strengthens the partnerships. It's like, it's not an artificial thing where it's like it's just on paper that we're going to agree to get along and work together. It's like, no, there's actually shoulder to shoulder things going on with these faculty members, and that's making the institution relevant, right? It's relevant to our communities. Yeah. It's relevant to our city. It reflects sort of where we are in the downtown core. We're a part of things. We're all pulling together, with the priorities of our institution and the city. So that's really exciting to me to be a part of and to see what happens next with the faculty.
Yeah, no, I think we're all excited to see what's going to happen next. But I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here.
Thank you. Well, that's all we have for today's episode of Research Recasted. If you want to support this podcast, you can visit Research Recasted on your favorite podcast platform to find new episodes every 2 weeks. Also, don't forget to check us out on Instagram, where you can leave us a like, give us a follow, or send us any follow-up questions you have from today's episode. This has been Research Recasted, the Knowledge Mobilization podcast, brought to you by the Office of Research Services and the Faculty of Fine Arts and Communications at MacEwan University.